Hi everyone, welcome to 472 Contemporary Issues in Early Childhood Care and Education. My name is Alex and I'll be one of your instructors this semester along with Sylvia Kind. In this video, I'm going to give you a short introduction to the course content and the text and give a bit of an orientation to the course. I also invite you to read the PowerPoint that's posted in week 1 on Moodle for more details on the framework, policies, and expectations of this course. This course is mixed mode, so we'll be working online together for May and June, engaging in some preparatory thinking that will support your orientations to our intensive week of studio time and research in July. So be sure to check Moodle for your weekly exercises. Each week there will be a checklist that you'll need to complete by the Saturday at 11:55 p.m. Sunday will be your day to respond to your peers and engage in some dialogue about what's been taking shape in the virtual space. Your readings for the term will be laid out for you. However, I'll be posting the weekly content and portfolio assignments, more details to come on the portfolio, on the Sunday before your week begins to allow for an ongoing emergence and flow of exercises that respond to the discussions that are happening throughout the course. So in this way, you won't be able to work ahead and will be encountering material together slowly and collectively. So the weekly exercises will likely take shape in a similar format, and they'll take about the same amount of time each week. Though we will be working online, you should be treating this as a regular class with 3 hours of class time, 2 to 3 hours of reading, and 1 to 2 hours of weekly exercises every week. If needed, I'm more than happy to set up a Skype appointment to chat with you about any questions that you have or something that's puzzling for you. If you need any support at any point in the course. Sylvia is also on campus if you'd like to touch base with her in person as well. So our text is by Isabel Stengers. It's a small book and the chapters are short, but the content is thick and rich. There's a lot to think with here. Stengers has written extensively in areas of feminist science philosophy. This particular book is a provocation to activate other knowledges that might exist beyond dominant frameworks of traditional scientific reasoning. In this book, Stengers brings attention to the ways in which histories of scientific thought arising from the Enlightenment period continue to operate, though often unwittingly, in common assumptions and often in curriculum and educational practices. So she discusses how these epistemologies or ways of thinking continue to inform modern day thought. And though she doesn't specifically speak about early childhood education, she offers us a lot to think with in terms of how these ways of thinking inform curriculum and inform pedagogy. So in her discussion, she makes visible how particular ways of thinking have particular effects. That neoliberal rationalities of individualism, competition, and of human-centered solutions to environmental crises, for example, make unsettling current structures of our times and imagining other possible futures impossible. And this is something that we'll discuss much more in detail throughout the course. So in response to current challenges of the 21st century, an age also known now as the Anthropocene, an epoch of increasing social, economic, and environmental precarity, Stengers argues that our current ways of knowing are not enough to confront what she calls the coming barbarism. Yet, something to keep in mind is that this book is not about finding solutions. Rather, it's about creating the kinds of conditions and dispositions to thinking that might make new worlds possible. So in this online portion of the course, I encourage you to pay attention to a desire for answers and solutions that might emerge in the midst of ambiguity and in the midst of uncertainty, and try to stay with the troubles that the text might be proposing. So use this virtual space as a platform to grapple with concepts and try to stay in the thick of the problems presented. So Stanger's work is very much inspired by Deleuze's theory of worlds as open wholes. She challenges the idea of bodies as closed forms, and rather attends to the ways in which systems of singularities travel and mutate among collectives. That nothing is stable or whole despite a human desire to classify bodies into categorical knowable terms. So in this book, Stingers also draws on the work of Bruno Latour in discussing the idea of a commons, a contentious and common space that exists beyond dualisms of nature, culture, human, more than human, where more than human actors, for example, multiple species, materials, weather, geobiospheric forces, and many others, are lively performers in the co-composing of shared, unequal worlds. And this is including early childhood spaces in our context. Sylvia and I selected this text because Stanger's writing is very pedagogical in nature, and in this course we intend to situate pedagogy in precarious times by creating the kinds of spaces and ways of thinking that might be necessary to responding in ways that are radically different than what already exists. So in week 9, in the first week of July, during our face-to-face intensive, we hope to think with this text as a contact zone for imagining new theoretical possibilities about our lived relations with food waste through artistic processes, constructing theory in the making with others, theory that's informed both by lived experiences and that takes a feminist post-foundational disposition, such as that of Stanger's. So in this course, we'll consider how situated, provocative, intentional, and consequential pedagogies require particular ways of paying attention, responding, and theorizing to what's happening. So some of the initial questions that are framing this course are: how might pedagogy be situated in precarious times? What kinds of conditions and dispositions to thinking are necessary in 21st century contexts? And in response to what Stengers calls the coming barbarism of advanced capitalism, what might a food waste studio put into motion? So some key areas of discussion that we'll consider in this online content are 21st century contexts, histories and presences of capitalist rationalities in education and how they manifest pedagogically, arts of noticing, and the idea of thinking through and in a commons, thinking of knowledge as relational, socially constructed processes, processes that exist beyond the human as well. And then lastly, studio processes and research, artistic languages, thinking about the culture of the studio, and intensifying attention to what pedagogy is in response to through studio work. So our intention in the online section of this course is to read slowly and collectively through the text, as this material can be challenging. Use this virtual space, the forums, Skype, email, to connect with each other and know that you're not working through this in isolation. Think through these concepts and assignments together. This online content will support you in imagining what our week in the studio will be in response to in times of advanced capitalism. What ideas, tensions, troubles do the readings and online content provoke for you? What sense did you make of the text in your life world? And what kinds of dispositions and ways of thinking might be necessary to respond? So we'll then gather these threads together in week 9 in the studio together and create the kinds of conditions that we think might be necessary for these ways of thinking to emerge and to be sustained when we meet food waste in collective spaces. So just to finish up, on Sunday, May 12th, from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I'm going to host a group chat on Moodle where you can discuss any questions that you have about assignments, about the course content, and we can take up some of those questions there. be sure to read the course outline and the assignment descriptions before you come to this meeting on May 12th, and then we can have some generative dialogue about that. So yeah, I think that's about it, everybody. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, and I look forward to this term with you. Thanks so much.